Got a Sam's Cafe pizza order up.
You know the best part about this spicy Italian sausage? I voted for this topping. Yeah, just another perk of being a member. Come join us. Sam's Club.
So get this. The hottest trend in America in 2026 isn't a dance or a drink or a dating app. It's trolling billionaires. And it's not coming from one angry corner of the internet. It's politicians, movie stars, and crowds 3,000 strong, all piling on at once. If your brand carries any whiff of wealth, status, or you've made it, you are now a potential punchline.
That's right. So get this, John. This is breaking out in 3 completely different stages at the same time. So let's start with politics. New York's mayor, Mamdani, wanted to announce a new tax on empty luxury apartments. So he filmed the video standing on the sidewalk outside the single most expensive home in the country, a hedge fund billionaire, Ken Griffin's $238 million penthouse, and he called the guy out by name.
An annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the rich.
He used a man's own front door as the set.
Yes, and then 2 weeks later, while King Charles is visiting New York, as a reporter asked Mamdani what he'd say to the king, and his answer was he'd ask him to give back the famous diamond Koh-i-Noor back to India.
Okay, from a hedge fund titan to the British monarchy in like 14 days.
Yeah, so that's stage 1 politics. But stage 2 culture, the Met Gala this May, fashion's most exclusive night. And the hot trend on the carpet wasn't a designer. It was actually needling the wealth in the room. So actress Sarah Paulson showed up in a gown literally titled The 1% with a dollar bill covering her eyes. Critics called the whole night a billionaire circus, and stars like Bella Hadid and Zendaya skipped it entirely as a statement.
Okay, so the most exclusive party in America became a venue for mocking exclusivity?
That's right. And then we skipped to the streets. And this past May Day, the nationwide theme wasn't wages or healthcare. It was 3 words: workers over billionaires. And there were more than 3,000 demonstrations across America on May Day for this.
So, Libby, in a few weeks, a mayor trolls a billionaire on his doorstep, movie stars troll them on the red carpet, and 3,000 different crowds troll them in the street.
Yeah, John, it's the politics, the culture, and the streets all at once. So that's not a moment, right? That's a movement. And when you can't outspend power, you start to troll it. And so the whole country's doing it. And that's why we started to pull the data around it.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. So this is our 3rd annual Americans and Billionaires survey. And Libby, what we found is a country that didn't just sour on billionaires, it actually started openly mocking them for sport. We're calling it Billionaire Backlash.
Yeah, John. And here are the numbers under the trolling. So nearly 3 in 4 Americans say wealth inequality is a serious national issue. And roughly the same amount, 76%, say billionaires benefit the most from a system that the rest of us are stuck in.
Right. And Libby, here's the stat that shows the floor is giving way. Did you know 67% say billionaires are creating a more unfair society? And that's up 8 points in a single year. 8 points in 12 months. That's not a drift, that's a turn.
Yeah, and now 7 in 10 of Gen Z want actual limits on wealth accumulation, hard caps, a legal ceiling on how much one single person is allowed to get.
Caps. Wow. It's like, we're not talking about higher taxes anymore. We're talking about a generation that wants a maximum.
Yeah, and the other thing that's worth noting is worship is gone. So we look at this quote, I look up to billionaires, and it has fallen 11 points since 2022. So you don't troll people you admire. Americans have stopped admiring the billionaires.
Now, here's where I think almost everyone reads the story backwards because there's a contradiction in the data that we found, and people start treating it as the reassuring part. But it's the opposite. It's the scary part, right?
Yeah, say it.
Americans still want to be billionaires. 60% say, I want to become a billionaire one day, and that includes 70% of Gen Z and millennials.
Right. And when you say that, when we say that in these rooms, the comfortable read in a boardroom is, see, they don't hate the rich. They just envy them. This is just jealousy and it will pass.
And that read will get a business or a brand killed. Because look at who's doing the trolling. It's not anti-wealth ideologues. It's the aspirants. It's actually the people who still want in. They're the ones, Libby, who used to be the system's biggest defenders.
That's right. And that's a dangerous part. When the people who want your life start mocking the game that produces it, you've lost the last group that was on your side. The dreamers were the firewall. The firewall is now roasting you on TikTok.
So, Libby, why are the people who still want wealth the ones laughing hardest at it?
Because if you read closer to this, John, the contradiction resolves into something a bit darker. So 2/3 of young adults say they want extreme wealth, not for success, but just for security. So they don't dream of yachts. They dream of never having to check their bank account before buying groceries or filling up their car with gas.
That's so interesting. And, in an economy where 8 in 10 Americans say you need 3 backup plans for everything.
Billionaire status becomes the only escape velocity people can imagine. Wealth stopped being a status symbol and it became a survival strategy. And when survival is the only door left and it's locked and fewer than 1,000 people hold the keys.
Oh, I see where you're getting at. So it's like you don't get quiet envy, you get a mayor on a billionaire's doorstep.
Yeah, and I think something that we talk about a lot is that there's a deeper problem underneath it. It's actually a linguistics problem before it is economic. So, John, what people commonly mistake as million, billion, trillion, our language lines them up like stairs, like it's just the next step.
Yeah, but a billion isn't one step past a million. It's 1,000 millions.
Yeah, and we were talking about how do you actually feel this? So we broke it down. 1 million seconds is about 11 and a half days. 1 billion seconds is almost 32 years. Same little jump in the sentence.
A lifetime of difference, though, in reality. And now there's a brand new word, trillionaire. One more casual syllable, Libby, right? But it's another 1,000 steps up. So I guess if people already can't comprehend billionaire wealth and they're already trolling it for sport.
Yeah, what happens when the vocabulary jumps again? I think we're here to find out, right?
Yeah.
David, having insurance isn't the same thing as having State Farm.
Tell me about it, Gail. It's like wanting to build a podcast called Brands in the Conversation and ending up doing a podcast about bland conversations.
Really? Bland conversations?
Yeah. Today, we're talking to Mr. Doesn't Matter about a subject that is close to his heart, why what he says doesn't matter.
You wouldn't settle for just any podcast, so don't settle for any insurance. Get the real deal.
Hey, we didn't settle for just any insurance company as a founding partner for Bubbler Media.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Did you know with the Sam's Club app, you're technically in the club no matter where you are? Like, this is a club. This is also a club. And this is a club. My bad. Come join us. Sam's Club.
Well, once you see Billionaire Backlash, it's not just a few viral moments. It's the first half of 2026. The protesting is hardening into law.
Yes. But first, here's how toxic just defending billionaires has become. In February, a tech founder in San Francisco tried to organize a march for billionaires, an actual rally to support of the wealthy against California's proposed wealth tax. And the slogan was, vilifying billionaires is popular, losing them is expensive.
How'd that go?
So about 36 people showed up. The journalists nearly outnumbered them. The counter-protesters were much funnier than the protesters themselves. An artist, for example, handed out sandwiches to homeless people under an Eat the Rich puppet. And The Atlantic called it a funeral for irony. And you cannot defend right now billionaires in public without it collapsing into a punchline.
Then it hit the ballot box. In California, the unions gathered 1.6 million signatures, nearly double what they needed to put a one-time 5% billionaire tax on the November ballot, with the revenue going to healthcare and food assistance.
Yeah, and then in Washington, Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna introduced the Make Billionaires Pay Their Fair Share Act, a $4.4 trillion wealth tax aimed at 938 individuals. And Elizabeth Warren is calling for new taxes specifically on AI wealth and data centers.
And Libby, remember Mom Donnie's stunt on Griffin's doorstep? That pied-à-terre tax actually passed the state legislature. It's the first of its kind, and it's projected to raise at least $500 million a year. The troll became law.
Yeah, and then get this, John, the strangest signal of all is that billionaires themselves are starting to negotiate against their own position, understanding where they are. So Bezos floated that the bottom 50% of all earners should pay zero in federal income tax. Sam Altman is pitching an AI-led, kind of strange but interesting new deal. And Elon Musk wants universal high-income checks.
Yeah, and Libby, Anthropic's co-founders, pledged to give away 80% of their wealth, with their CEO making what he called a pragmatic argument. Back a good version of taxing AI wealth now, or get a bad one designed by the mob. And at the World Economic Forum in Davos in January, nearly 400 millionaires and billionaires signed a letter that simply said, tax us, tax the super rich.
Yeah, so John, when the wealthiest people on earth start drafting their own redistribution plans, that's not generosity. That's people inside the castle watching the moat fill up.
Here's why Billionaire Backlash is a right now story and not a someday story. The inequality has been building for decades. AI has now, though, raised the stakes from unfair to existential.
Because the same technology minting new billionaires monthly is the same technology Americans believe could automate them out of jobs. Oxford economists say the AI wealth effect has lifted U.S. household wealth up over 7%, but mostly for high earners. They expect this K-shaped economy to stay locked in place until 2035.
So the wealth tax debate didn't get louder because America suddenly discovered inequality. Libby, it got louder because AI turned a moral complaint into a survival threat. And I guess in this context, it makes it really combustible. Did you know that America is now home to a record 989 billionaires worth a combined $8.4 trillion? And that fortune has nearly tripled since the start of the pandemic, from about $3 trillion back in March of 2020.
That's crazy. The fastest growing pile of money in America belongs to fewer than 1,000 people. Nuts. And the Wall Street Journal put Elon Musk roughly $970 billion in human terms to $3.6 million an hour across his career. So that's how much he would make per hour if he calculated out that money. And a median American household would need more than 11 million years of work to match it.
11 million years. Libby, that's the number people hold in one hand while they hold their grocery receipt in the other. But that's the gap that puts a mayor on a billionaire's doorstep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pause and let's talk about what this means for brands. Because if I'm a CMO listening to this, the hottest content format of the year is dunking on rich people, and half my customers still want to be rich. Libby, where does my brand stand?
Well, I think you have to consider that trolling the wealthy is now a national pastime. And it means that status signaling is a liability, not an asset. And how do you signal status is the important part of that. So if you're too shiny or you're portraying yourself in that billionaire mindset, then you are going to feel out of touch, and out of touch is where you're going to start to get trolled.
That's interesting. I think the other thing about this data from the Harris poll is the reassuring story is that people want to be rich, so the anger is not real. But I think we both know that story is a landmine because the mockery is coming from the aspirants, right? 79%, nearly 8 in 10 of Americans are more likely to support a billionaire who challenges an unjust system. And nearly 2/3, 65%, judge the wealthy entirely on how they got it. So that means Americans aren't anti-success, right, Libby? They're anti-rigged game.
Yeah. And so when you think about what, at the end of the day, people are aspiring towards, they aspire towards security, not just status. So again, that aspiration isn't just a yacht, it's more of an exhale. So how do you bring to the market your aspirations around safety and stability and never having to worry will really outperform these luxury quoted flexing of one class over another?
Yeah, I think that's right. And you were saying to me the other day, this idea, I love this phrase, legitimacy is the new luxury. And this is the idea that people will still celebrate wealth when it visibly shares power instead of hoarding it. So I guess what we really got to be talking about is making your customers stakeholders, not spectators. Show how that value gets shared, not just extracted. So I guess for brands, that show their work on fairness, they're going to be the ones, Libby, that are going to earn a trust no ad budget can buy.
Yeah, and I think to just pile onto that, I mean, if AI is in your story around that, shared prosperity has to be in it too, in that way of stakeholders and value getting shared. Otherwise, you're not selling progress. You're handing the trolls their next target. And that is exactly what we're seeing in today's market. So here's what Billionaire Backlash really means. The trolling isn't the story, it's the symptom. The story is that this was never just envy, it was never just eat the rich.
It's a country that still dreams of wealth and has decided the people who have it didn't earn the right to keep it that way.
That's the whole thing. The people who wanted in are now the ones writing the jokes, filming the videos, and showing up on the doorstep.
Yeah, and when mocking the powerful becomes the most popular thing a politician, a celebrity, or even a kid with a phone can do.
That's not really a passing mood, right, John? That's a country renegotiating who gets celebrated out loud in real time.
So remember, Billionaire Backlash, the hottest trend of 2026 is trolling billionaires. A mayor did it on a $238 million doorstep and turned it into law. A movie star did it on the Met Gala carpet with the dollar bill over her eyes. And the one guy who threw a march to defend billionaires got outstaged by a man in a top hat named Trillionaire.
Your dinner party stat, 7 in 10 Gen Z want a hard cap on how rich a person can get, while 6 in 10 of them want to be rich themselves. The dreamers turned on the dream.
Not because they stopped wanting in,
but because they finally noticed the door was locked from the other side.
I'm John Gersma.
I'm Libby Rodney. This is So Get This.
So Get This is a Bubbler Media iHeart podcast production. If you're not in the conversation, you're not in the game.
David, having insurance isn't the same thing as having State Farm.
Tell me about it, Gail. It's like wanting to build a podcast called Brands in the Conversation and ending up doing a podcast about bland conversations.
Really? Bland conversations?
Yeah. Today, we're talking to Mr. Doesn't Matter about a subject that is close to his heart, why what he says doesn't matter.
You wouldn't settle for just any podcast, so don't settle for any insurance. Get the real deal.
Hey, we didn't settle for just any insurance company as a founding partner for Bubbler Media.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.